Now, young entrepreneurs could contribute to the country's food security concerns. That's according to youth movement eNCA. It's set to hold a summit to discuss many challenges, including food security. For more on this, we're joined by the head of enterprise development at Absa, Kgala-letso Tlhoale. They are sponsoring this particular event. Thank you so much for your time. We do appreciate it. Maybe I should tell our viewers that I've been battling with your name and surname this whole time, so I apologize if we butchered it. But thanks for joining us. You didn't at all. Oh, great. Okay, that's good to know. Speak to us about this very important summit. You know, firstly, it tackles food security, which I think, you know, we sometimes underplay it in South Africa. We don't realize how important that actually is, but also the youth. So speak to us about this summit.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. So this summit is actually intended to engage, inspire, and actually make the youth know that they are worth it and that there's a future for them. The issue of food security in particular is important because you'll see that a lot of farmers, you're not getting new generation coming in. You know, farmers' kids most of the times would rather do something different. And it is an absolutely critical sector in the economy. We have to eat every single day. And getting young people involved and getting them interested in agriculture is one of our big initiatives. And EmpowaYouth has done an immensely incredible work, getting a whole lot of collaboration amongst corporates and other players to actually make opportunities available to the youth, to inform them about the opportunities, to create platforms where corporates can come together and actually offer these opportunities, especially around agriculture.
I want to speak about an important element you just touched on. You know, the older generation, I don't want to call them old, but the older generation is more into farming and, you know, this food security. And younger people might say, I don't want to get my hands dirty, I don't want to get into farming. You know, I actually once, it was about a year or two ago, I interviewed a young farmer, and she's very young. I think she's still under 30, and she's so into farming. And she was speaking about how her peers look at her and go, are you crazy? Why would you want to get into farming? It's always seen as the job that no one wants to touch, but it has immense opportunity, doesn't it?
It does, and there's an entire value chain that is linked to agriculture. So it's not only about the planting, the harvesting, there's a lot. In fact, recently you've seen that Absa has bought a minority share in one of our ED beneficiaries, Kula app, precisely to make agriculture knowledge more accessible to young people. And you'll find that we are trying to make, yes, agriculture is actually cool. It's actually got a very positive and potentially lucrative future because everybody has to eat, and we are the food basket. I mean, we have really been blessed with a lot of resources that make agriculture possible in this country. And in the bushbuck-rich area, I mean, the climate there is one of the most suitable, and we are hoping that we will inspire young people in Mpumalanga to actually take up the challenge and become part of the agricultural value chain and actually create a better future for them.
I was born in Mpumalanga, but I definitely did not want to become a farmer, I can tell you that. I want to speak about, you know, you speak about the resources we have, and we also have so much land, and our climate is also so conducive for farming and probably contributes to the vast resources that we actually have. I want to speak about how easy, though, it is to get into farming in this country, because there are also a lot of limitations, and young people might look at the situation and go, well, I might want to get into it, but there's just so much red tape, there's so many limitations, it's not easy, I don't have the capital to get into farming, how do I do it?
Yeah, well, you don't have to always start with scale.
Yeah.
I mean, a couple of years ago, we actually ran an initiative where we introduced vegetable tunnels at a number of schools. And you'll see that quite a few of the young people have actually gone on to get an interest in agriculture, in farming, and actually make a success of it. So you don't always have to, you know, start big, but what we want is to encourage and actually factor in the fact that agriculture is an option, and it's actually a very viable option. And there's a lot of young people who've grown up in rural areas who actually have the love of agriculture just by having been exposed to it. But through the partnerships that we have, like with EmpowaYouth and other corporates, we actually are trying to make the barriers less steep for young people to enter. And you know, we are also a big player in the TVET space, and we've actually started a pilot in Northwest Province where we've allowed some of our farmers, we've engaged them, and we're actually offering work-based education, the practical side, on the farms. So we want to get to use our client collaborations, our partnerships, to make it accessible to young people to actually enter into agriculture and secure the future of food security for us.
Yes, certainly, especially because, you know, if you look at the state of unemployment in our country, especially among the youth, you know, if you speak to me about the fact that there's so much opportunity for young people, it's imperative for young people to obviously realize that there is opportunity here. But there obviously are many challenges. I mean, you've spoken about how you can try and work around those challenges. But I want to move into the Empower Youth Jobs and Funding Summit. So somebody watching now and saying, okay, maybe I could, you know, get into farming. How do they partake in this summit? What is it all about? Like, how do they get involved in this?
So we've brought together an array of specialists that will be sharing their knowledge, including the CEO of Kula App, Caritas Sintolo. And there's going to be a whole, I think, over 100 speakers on the different stages. But on the agricultural stage, we've really brought about knowledge sharing, information about what are the opportunities that are available, as well as where to get access to opportunities. There's an immense amount of money that is actually available through the various incentives, but you know, young people might not have the ability or the knowledge to actually engage and start to apply for these opportunities. So we are bringing those opportunities closer to the rural communities in the peri-urban areas so that they can also have hope and actually see that there is a brighter future. There is actually access to funding, information, technical assistance, and a whole wide, you know, enablers that will actually make it less restrictive for them to be able to participate in the sector.
I just quickly want to ask around the issue of food security, because there is an issue and a crisis in South Africa. I mean, our poverty is unimaginable. Many people go to bed without food. And, you know, we always worry about the next day, especially because there's also issues of load shedding, and, you know, so many things are affecting our security in every aspect, even our food security. Just speak to us about the importance of how young entrepreneurs can contribute positively to ensuring that we do have food security.
Yeah, I think the first thing is to make sure that there's interest in the sector, in agriculture, by young people. And this
Sorry to interject, is there interest though? Are young people interested or not really?
Well, they might not necessarily be naturally interested, but it's all about information, right? Access to information. And this is what we're trying to do, to bring this access to information, assistance, the various tools that are there to enable them, and actually to impart the fact that agriculture is not so old school and mundane. It's actually cool. There's a lot of technology that is available that can actually make it a viable career choice. And the more people we have, especially young people, interested in agriculture, the better the chance that we'll actually be able to overcome this very critical issue of food security. And this is what Empower Youth Weekend is about. This is why Absa, as easily, by quite a margin, the biggest agricultural bank in South Africa, this is what we want to do, to be able to contribute towards getting interest in the sector by young people, and actually using our network to enable and facilitate the entry of young people into the sector.
Okay, just lastly, is it a weekend thing? How will the summit work?
Well, it's over 3 days.
Okay.
It starts on a Thursday, and there's various stages, agriculture being obviously one of the key ones. And there's a lot of partnerships and collaboration towards just giving young people hope, bringing information to them, and linkages, and creating linkages. And also, you know, corporates don't always compete. They also collaborate. There's a term we call co-petition. So we're able to actually, for the better and future, a better future for our country, it is important that we collaborate. We bring opportunity to young people and actually make it easier for them to have access to these opportunities. That is what the Empower Youth Weekend is all about. Okay. And obviously we're partnering with the public sector there. We've got good relationships with the Mpumalanga provincial government as well as the various districts. And yeah, it's a powerful platform for information sharing, bringing opportunities to young people in the most remote areas, and actually providing hope and averting, you know, hopelessness amongst young people, which I think is the biggest risk that this country faces.
Certainly. Thank you so much for coming through and enlightening us about this this summit that's taking place. I think it's a very important one, and if you are an aspiring farmer, you should definitely consider attending this summit, as there's lots of opportunity and information sharing. That is, of course, Kgala-letso Tlhoale, who is from the Empower Youth movement, or rather he's from Absa Group in collaboration with Youth Movement Empower Youth.